saying the Muslim Brotherhood is in our government. More insults to this president. And the sound of silence from the craven Republican leaders. Joining me now is Angela Rye. Thanks for being here, Angela.
Thank you, Rev.
You know, you've got a lot of experience on Capitol Hill. Don't you think more moderate Republicans would want to denounce this kind of rhetoric? I mean, it can't go over well with voters.
Well, Rev, you know, the interesting thing is this rhetoric is not new. We've heard this from the very beginning of President Obama's first election. From 2008, this rhetoric is so old, and you begin to wonder whether the silent strategy really works. So there are a couple of things that folks normally do to respond to this. One is to ignore it and pretend that, you know, it never existed and hopefully it'll go away. The other is to address it head on and condemn it. They've never addressed this rhetoric head on and condemned it, and perhaps it is now that time. Louis Gohmert, of course, is an elected official, a public servant. You would think that you have an obligation to talk facts, and clearly he does not take that oath that he's required to take in the Constitution, according to Article 6, to heart. There is some obligation that you have to act in good faith, and that he continues to display that he doesn't have any ability to do so. I want him to name one member of the Muslim Brotherhood in the president's administration.
Well, let me give you another one, right-wing blogger, and it's amazing how they go to these and just grab these things out of nowhere and try to make them stick. Eric Erickson, he tweeted, and I'm quoting his tweet, "I think the rise of multiculturalism leading to a lack of common culture played a role in the Boston bombing." Multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is to blame. Isn't that just the right wing going after one of their favorite targets? What does multiculturalism have to do with this?
Multiculturalism has nothing to do with this, Rev. In fact, we see people who over time have utilized whitewashing. Hitler, for example. That is a very dangerous talking point. You know, America over time has been built on this principle that we are a melting pot, and that our differences make us who we are. In fact, our differences and our diversity is, in fact, the tie that binds us, is what makes us indivisible, right? So if you have someone saying the exact opposite, that our differences is what needs to, you know, the basis of the fear and the, you know, the fear mongering here, it's tremendously dangerous, particularly in a day and age where our national security has been so tremendously compromised. We have to come together. We've got to stand together and lay partisan differences aside right in this moment. It is so critical. This rhetoric that they continue to spew is reckless. Yep. It's very, very dangerous, and it's extremely toxic.
Well, let me tell you another one. I mean, all the tons of reports about how the bombers received public assistance. Take a listen to this.
Were the two bombing suspects, and the entire family for that matter, on the government dole for the entire time that they lived here in the United States of America, a country they now hate?
Don't we deserve to know whether we paid for that bomb?
Let's face it, a lot of criminals in the United States are on welfare, so this isn't a big surprise.
A lot of criminals are on welfare. Now we're going to criminalize everybody on welfare because of these two bombers. I mean, why don't we just go through the litany of people that have done terror attacks in this country, and let's see how many of them are on welfare? Why are we even getting into this absurd discussion rather than dealing with securing and uniting the country around securing American people?
Well, Rev, I think in part if you look at this, and I hate to make this a partisan issue at all, but the fact that they don't want to address what would have happened in Boston had we not had the resources necessary on the state, local, and federal levels to really deal with this immediately, the best thing for them to do is to talk about whether or not they're on welfare, because it's a distraction from what really matters. We know that our resources are stretched very thin, and we've got to make really critical decisions to ensure that, whether it's sequestration or other budget challenges, that we're still doing what's right for our nation's security.
Angela Rye, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Rev.
We'll be right back with the spirit and courage of Boston, shared now with the entire country.
Everyone knows what it's like in the course of your own day.